how do I grow my business enough to need to hire an office manager?
So most of our customers, the problem really isn't growing the number of opportunities that they get. The problem comes in is that they have the opportunities, their pricing structure doesn't fit hiring an office manager. So that's where most of the focus should be, is structuring your business, selling the right products and the right services in the right business model, so you can actually structure the business to hire an office manager. So
Sure.
A lot of our customers work way too many hours doing all the work, and it gets that way because you start off and you're the only person in the business and you have to do everything. And one of the easiest ways to start a business is you are doing everything, so your cost structure is much, much lower than any established business. So you have to really start from a very low cost structure and figure out, how am I going to go from this low cost structure to a higher cost structure? And the only way to do that is to increase the value proposition to the customer, which includes all the services you provide and the quality of products that you bring along with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there like a sign that's like, okay, this tells me now it's time to hire an office manager? Like, how do you know in your business when it's time, or is there?
If you are asking the question, it's too late.
Okay.
So that means you're working 12, 14 hours a day, probably at least 10.
Yeah.
Right. And the question really needs to be, how do I focus my business model and structure the business and my pricing and my value proposition to the customer in order to make enough money to hire an office manager? It's the hardest hire because, with any startup small business like that, the first few hires comes out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Right? All the income that you've been using to live, you're taking more than half of that probably and hiring an office manager.
Sure.
So the key is to put away some of that money as you're putting in those long hours, which is a grind, and then saving enough, getting the business structured the way you need it.
Yep.
And hiring an office manager, and then you're going to see your business really take off, because your unique proposition, whatever that is, whether you're a fantastic installation person or a fantastic salesperson, the more you can focus on the one thing that you're great at, your business will take off.
Yeah, because the goal is to make more money, but at first you have to spend money.
You do.
To make money. But
you do.
So logistically, though, if you're doing this, you've probably never hired anyone before because you're maybe the only employee. Do you have any tips or tricks on hiring the right person, what to look for in an office manager, what kind of skills they should have, experience, all that stuff?
So I always say two things. One, you can't teach intelligence, and you can't teach work ethic. So those are the two things I look for, plus culture. Culture has to fit with who you are, who your business is, who your customers are. This office manager is going to communicate probably as much to your customers, if not more, than you are. So that culture and understanding the way you've built the business and the culture really, really matters, and make sure that's a fit.
Yeah. What about, and I've seen this happen with some of our dealers and installers who we've worked with, where they hire or work with like their wife, girlfriend, your significant other. Can they be your office manager, or is there maybe avoid that, or any thoughts on that?
So that's personal preference. I think there's a lot of that in this industry. A lot of it actually, in my opinion, comes from you're supplementing the business a little bit, because you're probably not paying them market rates or anything like that, which is why they're taking on that role.
Yep.
We have a no family policy here because it gets into all kinds of situations.
Sure.
So, but there are tons of businesses. It's perfectly fine as long as you draw the line. But just think about when you're making that decision and hiring that person, are you making decisions that don't fit the business long term? So, in other words, if you're supplementing the business by paying them less to get that role done, give yourself a timeline. Put a timeline on that and say, hey, I'm either going to pay them market rate, and therefore I have to structure my business and price and offer all the things that we talked about before, to pay this person market rate.
Sure.
And that way your business can scale. Without that, you're going to be stuck where you are, and you're not paying your significant other or your spouse or whatever as much as they deserve, frankly, and as much as you deserve being a partner with them in life. So.
Yeah. I mean, you have to pay people fair rates to get good talent, which leads to the question of, do you want them to have a broad skill set of like they can do some marketing, they can do your Facebook, they're good with Excel, or do you think it's better to find someone who has a specific skill set that's just only office manager stuff, or should they have a little bit broader of a skill set in today's industry?
I would say fill your weakness.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Whatever that is. So, whatever your biggest weak spot is, mine, I can't stand. I know accounting very well. My ADHD, which is probably like most entrepreneurs, I can't sit behind a desk for too long. So, so to stand there and looking at numbers all day long or do bookkeeping and things like that, I just can't stand it.
Sure.
So, that was one of the first things that I hired, just because that's a thing that I would always push to the end, and my accountant would kill me.
Yeah, smart. So if you're the owner of a business and you've been doing everything yourself the whole time, it's your baby. You've created the thing. You know every aspect of it, even stuff you don't want to do. You still do it. Any tips on handing tasks off that maybe you do enjoy, but you realize you should be doing other things, and not micromanaging people and letting go of certain things? I feel like sometimes people can't let go of it, and then they drive that employee nuts by micromanaging them, and it's just not a good situation. Yeah,
I think that happens a lot. I think that there's a trust factor there that the person you hire has to earn over time. I think giving things up is hard, and it has to be a commitment on both sides. It has to be you willing to give things up and commit to that and mean it, and the person has to be gain your trust in order to do that. And then, especially if they're on the accounting side, you need to check in every once in a while and make sure things are done properly, because that can get you in trouble as well.
What about, this might be too far in the weeds, but what about you're hiring your first employee, if it's an office manager, you maybe have 1099 contract workers or something, but what about insurance? I mean, you're getting into a different level when you have an employee. Should you be thinking about that stuff and, how to protect yourself in case there's, you're in charge of a person. They're working for you.
Well, and especially in the outdoor lighting industry, insurance is very important. You're going to have workers' comp. You're going to have liability insurance, or at least I would highly suggest it, because you are hiring people. They are off probably on their own sometimes in other people's homes, in other people's properties, and people make mistakes. Some people do stupid things, and it's really out of your control. So insurance is very important. There are lots of good insurance brokers around, small business brokers. Now, it drives me crazy talking to those people, because they will sell you, and they'll say they're trying to protect you. And mine knows I have a very high risk factor, right? So my deductible is extremely high, but they will talk to me and say, hey, just to let you know, here's the situation, and just be careful of that. So one thing I will say is that, especially if you hire a bookkeeper or a person doing the books, or an accountant or office manager, having the cybersecurity insurance is highly important. We get emails every day across the company saying, people acting as me, writing an email to the accounting department saying, hey, wire this for me, send this ACH for me, here's the account number, blah, 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 blah.
So that protects you if one of the employees answers one of those phishing emails trying to pull a bank account.
Nothing protects you. The money's gone. But you'll get, as long as you have enough insurance, you'll get refunded for that.
Okay.
And a lot of this insurance, they will cover the time that your business is down recovering from that, because they can. If it's a ransom, they'll take your whole computer system down, right? You will be. A couple of our vendors have had that situation, to where big companies, to where their whole system went down for weeks. Because I don't. And we weren't privy to whether it was a ransom situation or not, but most of them are. So to where you have to pay the people that did it that take your stuff and lock you up and
crazy,
and you're dead in the water until then. Now there is insurance to cover you during that time if you have that insurance. So that's one that I, even though I have a very high risk tolerance, that's one that I don't take lightly.
No, I think there's things like that for different videos in this series we talk about things like people don't think about, like setting up, if you have multiple employees, like phone systems and how to get it all set up and the website. And there's a lot more to it that I think helps business grow.
Yeah. And, in today's world, it used to be you had to have a website. I would say a significant number, I'm not sure what the percentage would be, but a significant number of our customers don't have websites. They have a Facebook
page. Just a Facebook.
They have Instagram. They advertise that way, and they don't have a website. There's some benefits to a website. You can get more data. You can do more things with it. But it's not required these days. So
no, which is interesting. The last thing I want to ask is, how long were you in business before, with Haven Lighting or a previous business, before you made the jump to get an office manager? Was there like a aha moment that you were like, God, I got to hire someone because this is getting crazy, like a personal experience?
We're always late to hire, I feel like. So I'm fairly conservative in that way just because I don't like laying people off. Yeah. So I've had to do that a few times in my career, not in this business, but and before I started off on my own, and that's no fun. So so because of that, we're always pretty late to hire, which is a fault to its own because it stresses the organization. So
meaning you would do something yourself or figure it out for as long as possible before filling a role to
myself, or if you have employees, have them pitch in. I mean, we do some of that here. Right?
We do.
Like if we are short in some areas, then we ask people to cover, and I'm right there with them most of the time helping. So.
Yeah, got it. Okay, Chris, thanks for taking the time to do this. We hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and all the social media sites, and check us out at havenlighting.com. And thank you for watching.